finished my first term of service with the Hands-on Atlanta Schools
Yeah.
program. And I am serving my second term of service with the Hands-on Network and the Georgia Recovery Corps.
Woo!
I am honored to have this opportunity to serve, share my story of why I serve here. So the big question is, why do I serve? There are multiple reasons that are intertwined to why I began my service. I can remember growing up in College Park, Georgia, right here by Hartsfield Airport. And I'd sit in my backyard and days and nights I'd watch the airplanes fly by and I'd wonder where they were going. It makes you think that if something like an airplane that is so heavily weighted, with tons of fuel, with people, and with luggage, can take flight, then why couldn't the same apply to you, me, and our communities? Memories like that created my vision of College Park. I'd often hear people over and over talk about the neighborhoods in this area and the schools, but in a negative way. Some speculated about the crime rates in this area based on the minorities in this region. But I analyzed it as a need to address regional residential segregation in our society, which creates an invitation to negative stigmatism. We often create barriers amongst each other that doesn't exist unless we reinforce them. A few of these barriers include classism and racism. So when asked, why do I live down here? It was obvious that people were referencing to some of the byproducts of the issues that I had just mentioned. The implication was that my home, my community, and my roots wasn't the best place to live in their eyes. But of course, I didn't feel that way. So my response to that was, well, don't talk about it, be about it. And as I got older and I matured, I realized that the resources in the College Park area were lacking to some degree. How do you change? How do you see the change that you want to see if you're not willing to make that change? How do you see the change that you want to see if you're not willing to make that change? This is what sparked my drive to give back to the community that had invested in me. And I started my legacy of service 10 years ago with Habitat for Humanity. So again, why do I serve? Community service created a space for me to meet and interact with people that didn't look like me, that didn't come from the same places that I came from, who didn't eat the same things that I had ate, who had different religions that I had, and it unified the hierarchy of social classes together on one cause, that was service. What a beautiful picture community service painted, and saying it aloud at this moment is reminiscent of what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had envisioned for us to be experiencing right now. Also through service, I got to see through my own eyes the change in community happening while I volunteered. I cannot tell you what it feels like to work side by side with a family building their new home, and then drive by the neighborhood during the holidays, knowing that I helped a little girl spend her first Christmas in decent housing. Or how priceless it is to witness the 3-year-old sacrificing his Saturday morning cartoons to paint benches at the 9/11 National Day of Service and Remembrance Project at Eastlake Park. Or how it feels to put a smile on the face of someone who needs help with their resume for the first time in years. See, the relationship that we have with service isn't just about giving, but we're receiving as well. It is an investment in our community as well as yourself. It has the potential to be the perfect relationship, or even a bestseller romance novel. Some would say that it could be called Volunteering the Love Story. So why do I serve? Last summer, I stumbled upon AmeriCorps at a job fair, and I thought about it and I said, Self, you know what? You've been thinking about possibly being a teacher after just tutoring in a high school, and I really love that experience. And I thought that serving would give me the opportunity to get insight on a profession before I fully committed to it. And getting the education award in the amount of $4,725 would allow me to finish school. This was my chance to jumpstart my academic career and service the community on a higher level than I'd ever done before. So once I got that good old living allowance, I just thought about what Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we do, but we make a life by what we give. So once in service, I had a child go from crying about attempting to do a math problem and totally switching up later by saying, Miss Stevenson, can I do the next problem on the board? And that was enough living allowance for me. See, AmeriCorps aligns with my vision of service. We're all about getting things done. And this is why I'm serving my second term and I am back in school. After this term of service is completed, I plan to continue with my education, and my ability to move on to the next stage and the next level has largely been due to my service with AmeriCorps. My goal after this is to continue in the nonprofit sector, or maybe go on to graduate school to become an audiologist, because I learned that some learning difficulties are not actually cognitive, but they're related to hearing inabilities. So why do I serve? The root of this stems from my mom telling me to treat people how I want to be treated. And Mom, I'm still working on this. And my faith instilled in me that God is love and to help your neighbor. All of us serve with AmeriCorps for different reasons or have multiple motivations. But those variations of motivations create beautiful hues of service, stimulated by diverse compositions of teams, faces, and backgrounds, all operating on one accord, and that's service. As I close, I wanted to share a quote by Marian Wright Elderman as we kick off our fall service and embark the world as change agents. I was taught that the world has a lot of problems, that I could struggle and change them, that intellectual and material gifts brought the privilege and responsibility of sharing with others less fortunate, and that service is the rent that each of us pays for living. The very purpose of life, and not something you do in your spare time, or after you have reached your personal goals. Thank you guys for listening to my story, and let's get her done.